In this video, we got Joji Davenport. He's got his own YouTube channel here. He is the online arbitrage book guy. And today we're just going to hang out. He's going to talk about how he got started with reselling, his current operations. I have a couple questions up my sleeve that'll be fun to talk about. What was your biggest one item flip that you've ever done?
Biggest one item flip, I think, was a Facebook Marketplace deal. It was not just one book. It was like a 10 book, maybe even more, maybe 10 to 15 book. I think they were engineering books or something like that. I think I paid like $50 for all of them. One of the books sold for like $500. And then all the other books combined, like well over like $1,500. So that's probably the biggest single flip, like the biggest deal. So I paid $50. I think after all send down fees, like walked away with $1,500. That's probably the biggest one.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, like in my head, you could take it to be highest ROI deal and
Yeah.
also highest profit deal. And I feel like that like knocks both out.
It was a great pickup for sure.
What was the $500 book on engineering?
So I'm thinking it's not engineering, they're actually welding books. I think it's like AMWS books or something like that. I mean, we could look them up, but for some reason, like these books, they're super expensive. I actually just sold one yesterday as a merchant fulfilled seller, and it had only sold one time in the last 4 years. But I was like, dude, I'm gonna list this book because all the other books sold, and even though it had only sold one time, like the used price was always really high, so people were always asking a lot of money for this book, and it sold for like $65. So that was from that same deal. So that deal is just continuing to pay dividends.
So, like for all of those books, it sounds like they're like super, super out there, discontinued, used. They might be relevant now, but like there's a certain like little population of people who want that type of book.
Yeah, I don't know, to be honest. Like I haven't done a whole bunch of research. All I know is that I think the book that I sold, I think it was the 2017 version. I think it comes out like every 4 years or something like that.
Hmm.
But the one I just merchant fulfilled the other day, I think it came out 2011. So yeah, there are a lot of welding books out there for some reason. I think it's like AWS or AMS. So there's like AMS, something like that. There's a whole series of these books. They're welding books, and a lot of them can be worth a lot of money.
And that's the beauty of Amazon. We don't really have to know too much about these items. We just need to know a little bit about the data. And kind of the other side of it is like, how do you even come across a deal like this? Because like someone watching this video, like they might just be looking on Facebook Marketplace. They may or may not come across a deal like this, but
Yeah.
you probably did specific things to find something like this.
Yeah, most of it I would say is just creating your own luck. And what I mean by that is just consistency. So baking into your day, I'm going to do the same action every single time. So whenever you find an action that works, you just repeat it. You just do it over and over and over again. And I really believe that you create your own luck, right? It's like you could sit there and say I was lucky, or you can sit there and say, hey, Joji was looking for 2 hours a day on Facebook for the last 365 days. Like, how could you not get lucky? Yeah, I think consistency is going to make you lucky. So you just got to find something that works and just repeat it, do it more and more and more. And going back to what you said about, I don't even need to know what the product is. All you need to do is be able to learn how to read a keep a graph. If you can learn to keep a graph, that's the key to unlock the story behind any product on Amazon. So that enables you to know literally anything about any product. Like what does it sell for, how often it sells, stuff like that.
And if you're a bookseller, in my opinion, you can do like okay if you just use Scout IQ and Seller Central. Like I did that for like 8 months straight. I didn't use Keep at all. I
Yeah.
made money. I also bought a lot of books that like I shouldn't have, and I probably missed out on a lot of books that like right now didn't look profitable, but
Yeah.
like man, like they were sales $100 plus in the past that I would have seen if I was looking at a Keep a graph. There's
100%. I mean, I buy books all the time, 10, 15, $20 with that have high sales ranks. And most people Scout IQ would not even buy that book. But it's like, if you look at the Keeper graph, like, okay, this book in the past has sold upwards of $50, $70, $100. So it's like, if I'm buying books for 10 or 15 on Amazon, and then I'm flipping them for 70, 80, 90. It's like clearly there are books out there that people are missing. Yeah, obviously, if you're using Scout IQ, you're going to make money a lot of times because if you're doing the thrift model, you're buying books so cheap that it's like, how do you lose money? Like the only way you lose money is if you just buy a book that's just terrible, that has no value. But yeah, I would say the number of books that I find that are worth money that I think a lot of people skip over with Scoutly or Scout IQ is pretty crazy.
Yeah, and like another thing too, I was watching someone's Amazon FBA video, like good content and all, but they were doing a Keepa product finder search, and they filtered out, they set the offer count to minimum 3 and also the sales rank to a certain amount. And I'm like, man, like you're missing out on so much gold when you do that, in my opinion. Because like for that reason, like you said that there's books that are like 10, 15, $20. There's also books that like nobody's been in stock for like the last 6 months, but there's been demand in the past. Like if you can find that book or that discontinued item or that whatever it is, like I think that's a myth in the Amazon community that like high sales rank equals bad.
Yeah.
Always.
Oh, yeah. 100%. If you're somebody who's new, I would say that's really great advice to follow, which is stay below a certain rank, because you don't really know what you don't know at that point in time. Like, so it's still a learning process. But so even for me, like if new people came to me, they never sold anything on Amazon, I would tell them to stay under certain sales ranks, because I'm not like most of the time when a book is over 2 million, like it's a book I wouldn't buy. But I'm just saying there are a certain percentage of cases that are actually amazing buys that people are skipping over because they have this like ironclad rule that says, hey, don't buy a book over 2 million rank or something like that. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So most days you might not be out there finding $2,000 deals on Facebook
Oh,
Marketplace. So like,
definitely not.
what
Yeah.
does the bread and butter of Joji's book operation look like for you on a day-to-day
Yeah.
basis?
Bread and butter is definitely Flipmine. So if you don't know, Flipmine's a software where you can basically find any product on eBay, compare it to an Amazon web listing, and it just tries to look at differentials in price. So it's like, hey, find this product on eBay for this price and you match it to an Amazon listing. And if it's this price, then there's clearly an arbitrage opportunity. And you can use that with a whole bunch of different categories. I do it specifically for books. So there's a ton of good deals on eBay. So I'd say I get a lot of books from eBay doing that. And then I get a lot of books using the Keepa track product alert. So if you didn't know, Keepa has a feature where you can basically track the price of a book and get notified via email, telegram message, text message. Hey, this book has reached a certain price threshold that you were interested in. And for example, like take a book that normally sells between $60 and $80. And then over the last 5 years, there's been 2 or 3 times where that price of that book dipped to $15. It's like, that's clearly undervalued. So if it happens again in the future, why not buy it? Because if it always sells for 60 to 80 and now it's $15, like how would you lose money buying that book? So I'd say, I snag 1 or 2 books a day just with the Keep a Track product feature. So yeah, you track thousands of books and eventually again, you're going to get lucky. But like I say, you create your own luck by being consistent and tracking a lot of books and doing that consistently. And then also the Keep a Track product feature, or the product finder tab, like you just mentioned. So you can input certain parameters and say, hey, Amazon or Keepa, find me a book that usually sells at this amount, and then today it's listed at this amount. So it's like, okay, well, if it normally sells up here and now today's price is down here, you could just do a little bit more Keepa analysis and figure out if that's a good deal. And then the third way is the Keepa deals page, which is also kind of like a simpler version of the product finder tab where you can do a little bit less, but you can also find great deals. And, you can filter by day drops or a week drop or a month drop. So I would say I do all on online arbitrage. All the books I buy are online and I flip them back on Amazon.
That's the sourcing side of it. And also you're a full-time teacher and you do Amazon on the side. So can you describe to us some of the infrastructure in your business that makes it time efficient enough for you to be able to do this part-time, but still make really good money with Amazon?
Yeah. I mean, I think just fundamentally that you can do this online. So I wake up at 6 a.m., got to go to, I get ready, go to school. I get back around 4:30, 5 p.m. I got to hang out with my son because I have a newborn, got to hang out with my wife. They go to bed 10:30. So it's like I got between 10:30 and midnight. And then also, when I wake up in the morning, 6 to 7 a.m., like that's when I have to work. And with that sort of schedule, I can't go thrifting. Like thrift stores are not open at 6 a.m. They're not open at 10:30 at night. And Amazon is still open. Yeah.
Dance party 10:38.
Exactly. eBay's open. Amazon's open. They're
Yes,
open
sir.
24/7, even on holidays. So I would just say it works for me because I have limited time and I don't have to worry about driving around. Like Seth, I know you watched one of my latest episodes about going from 0 to 1,000.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
in doing that, like episode 2 as well, I'm driving around places, picking up books because I'm pretending like what I would do if I had $0. And so big part of that is like you have to spend a lot more time in order to build capital versus now it's like I'm to the point where I built enough capital that I need to use that capital to save time. And so the easiest way to do that is to not go around driving places and is to, buy books that are more expensive that basically takes so many people out of the market. So it's like, the average person doing this business is not going to spend $27 book. Most people are used to thrifting for like $1 or $1.50 a book. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you use a prep center, don't you?
I do. Yeah. I've used 2. Now just 1. Yeah.
Now just one. Did
Now
something go wrong with one of them? Or?
Yeah. I just got an email from my old prep center who I still using. They said, we're ceasing operations immediately. Make sure you remove your inventory in the next 3 days because we're closing by like next week. I was like, that's crazy. I'm glad that I had a new prep center. Yeah.
So you like they had already shipped out most of your stuff at that point?
Yeah, they pretty much had everything. I was basically I was like 95% transition to my new prep center. And this one just out of the blue just said, hey, we're closing operations. I hope it wasn't because of me. I mean, I wasn't sending them that much volume. So I hope it wasn't because of me.
Yeah, I'm glad that that wasn't like a big like negative situation for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like glad that they didn't like lose your stuff or anything like that. I'm kind of in a similar situation. I use one prep center like 99% of the time, and then
Yeah.
another prep center, like they're better for like traditional online arbitrage, like new items, new in the box, like
Yeah.
volume, sales
For sure.
tax free. But the other place, I like the other place better. For people who don't even know what a prep center is or like how to even get into using a prep center, like what would you say to them? Because a lot of people, I think, like, I know for me, like I did Amazon for probably a year and a half without even knowing what a prep center was.
Oh yeah, easy. I did probably Amazon for 4 years before I knew what a prep center was, and then it probably took me another year and a half after I even knew what a prep center was to even get one. Yeah, what I would say is that like anything in the Amazon business, everything seems daunting and challenging before you do it, and then you do it and you realize it's not that hard. Like riding a bike is hard the first time, and then you learn how to ride a bike, and it's not hard anymore. Like learning how to sign up for an Amazon account is hard the first time because you've never done it because you lack the experience. But the same thing with the prep center, you literally just contact a prep center, and you can literally Google list of Amazon FBA prep centers. You can even sort them by being a sales tax free state, whether or not they do books, whether or not they do wholesale or RA or OA, whatever it is. And you do your due diligence. Like you go ahead and you email a handful of them that you think might be good. You follow up with a phone call. And it's just like talking to any sort of business that's providing you like service. Like their goal is to make money, and you're the person who's going to allow them to make money. So if you just send them a nice email, say, this is what my business model is. I plan to send $5 a day for this whole year. I'm an online arbitrage bookseller. And you just ask them questions about what's the per item prep fee. You ask them about what's the process for going about, like you just have an exchange with them, and you could literally set up a prep center within a day. Like it's not that hard to do, but most people are just going to take, like I did, a long time just to even make the first email. And then you realize, hey, if I just would have emailed me or emailed them, they email me back the same day. Like I could have already set it up. So I would say, yeah, definitely setting it up is, getting started is a challenging part. But essentially what a prep center does is they just receive your items. In my case, they receive my books because, like I said, I don't have the time to go down to my mailbox and get 5 books a day and come up here and take them out and do all that stuff. So I just send them to a prep center, and they do all that for me. They basically send it to an Amazon FBA warehouse.
You'd have boxes on that couch over there if you.
Oh yeah, I mean, I normally do. I mean, I actually do have quite a few books here.
Yeah, you still do get the removal orders, I'm sure, but
yeah, I
every
get the
once in a
removal
while.
orders, and then I just, I've been doing the series about
Oh
trying to go from
yeah.
0 to 1,000. So I got some books here stacked up. I got a really, really awesome free book pickup. So that'll
Hey,
be in the next video. Yeah.
I'm curious for you. I think I know the answer for myself, but like, what was the hesitation with using a prep center for so long? Because, like you said, you knew about them for like over a year, that they were a thing. So, like, what was the
Yeah.
hesitation?
It was simply just the fear of the unknown. It's like, man, this is what real Amazon sellers do. Am I a real Amazon seller? Like, can I do this? I'm a teacher. Is this possible? Like, this must be really hard. And then you do it and you realize it's not hard at all. So it was just simply fear. It's a fear of the unknown. And that's the same thing with, like, I'm starting to try to dabble in online arbitrage as well. Same thing. It's the fear of the unknown. I don't know what I don't know. And there's a little bit of anxiety in that. So first thing you gotta do is figure out what you don't know. And the way that you do that is you go online, you look at all the prep centers, you read what prep centers do, you talk to people, learn about their experience. So you learn what you don't know, and then you just dive into it. And in the process of doing it, you learn. And just because you get one bad prep center, your first one, doesn't mean that you can't use a prep center. It just means that you learned, hey, these are the things I'm looking for. Let's go to a different prep center. So everything that I've done in my Amazon business that has ever held me back has been because of fear. Just taking the first step and realizing that honestly, this thing in the grand scheme of the world and the universe doesn't matter at all. It's like you're going to learn from it and you'll be better because of it.
Yeah, I know for me, I was like terrified of getting just like straight scammed. Like the idea of sending like 10 grand to a random prep center that you don't even know is just like people do this and like people don't get scammed. Like Joji, I know we've talked about, like, I played RuneScape and I've been scammed so many times.
You didn't know if you're sending your armor to get trimmed and you're just like, am I gonna get it back?
Like I thought he was going to trade back, and then he never traded back.
And then he never did. I thought he was doubling or tripling my money, and he just didn't do it. You know
he didn't double my money. Like
exactly.
He said to trade.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's just like absolutely nuts that there are services these days. Like literally, me and you have probably at this point sent hundreds of thousands of dollars to a prep center, and like I've had, like, in the grand scheme of things, a minor thing go wrong. but
Yeah.
like they've shipped, nobody was trying to scam me. Like
Yeah.
at worst, like they might have operational problems and stuff will get shipped out slowly.
Yep.
Like they're trying
No.
to
Yeah.
run a good, honest business in just about every situation.
Yeah. I mean, and think about how much value they provide by being a good prep center and how much money they can make for doing that. If you have somebody who has a really good operation, you're going to have hundreds and hundreds of Amazon people who are coming to you. And so it's great business. So why it's in their best interest to perform a great service for you. And that's the goal, is try to find one that's good. My recommendation for finding a good prep center would be to ask around, ask people. I can say I use Central Virginia Prep for books, and they've been so much better than the one I used before. So I would say, and the only way I found them is by asking around. And I asked other booksellers what they use. They said that's what they use. I said, let's try it out. And then so far it's been great.
And so I'm curious, I think you alluded to this a little bit earlier, but like if you weren't doing online arbitrage books, kind of like what business model would you try? Like let's say Amazon just restricted the entire book category for everyone. I mean, honestly, your account would probably be in a good situation for that. But if you had to change business models, like what would you do?
I'd probably try online arbitrage. I'd probably go more deep into that. I'd probably start with doing some test buys. Like I actually did my first test buy and I've actually learned something already, which is interesting. So I'm already paying for my education, but I would say I'd probably,
like in a bad way?
Not in a bad way. Like I don't think I'll lose money, but it was just something that I learned about 𝗰𝗶𝗶 that doesn't really apply to books, but does apply to OA products, which is the variation listing stuff. So I'm sure you're probably more familiar with that, but I don't have to deal with variation listings for books. This is the book. It's a hardcover. This is the book. It's a paperback. There's no variation listing. So it's just, like I said, the most learning comes in the doing part. So you're going to make mistakes. The question is, do you learn from the mistakes and do you get better because of it? Especially with OA, I'm going really slow. So I'm doing test buys. I have a ton of capital that I could deploy, but I'm not going to because I realize I'd rather pay for my mistake with the least amount of money as possible and then learn from there and keep going. But yeah, if I had to do something, I mean, there's so many things that you could do. Like I would try OA, I would try eBay to Amazon flips with other things like electronics, things like you do. I would just try to find people on YouTube who do things and try to copy their success and do that stuff.
Speaking of variation listings, this is the way I learned about it. I was doing retail arbitrage at Trader Joe's and they had like a bunch of different spices there. And so I'd scan them or type them in or whatever. And like the one pack would be like 30, 40, 50% ROI, like pretty good, decent RA. But like the 2-pack or the 4-pack would be like 250% ROI. It would be like, oh my gosh, like I am just like going to make an absolute killing with this. And then like I buy them, send them in. They just like never sell. You're supposed to like look at the review count and see like, is it realistic that someone is buying the ghost chilies Trader Joe 4-pack spice for $200?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Probably not. Yeah. I mean,
probably not.
You learn. Yeah. I mean, so like, I'll tell you about my test buy. So I bought some Adidas shoes and just to get my feet wet, and I bought different sizes because I was looking at the 𝗰𝗶𝗶 graph and I didn't know that the sales rank on those 𝗰𝗶𝗶 graphs is the same for any size. Like I thought every different size shoe had a different 𝗰𝗶𝗶 graph in terms of sales rank. And so then I noticed that, the 6.5 and 7.5, they have the same sales rank. And I was like, oh, wait, I thought that this was an individual 𝗰𝗶𝗶 graph for each product. Like this is the 6.5 𝗰𝗶𝗶 graph. This is for the size 7 𝗰𝗶𝗶 graph. So I realized that, the sales rank is actually the same no matter what the size is or what colorway or whatever it is. So then I'm like, okay, wow, this thing doesn't move as much as I thought it did. So
and that was after the purchase?
It was after the purchase, but I wouldn't have known that unless I bought it. And now I won't make that mistake again. And it's not like I don't think I'm going to lose money on these. I just think that they're going to move way slower than I thought. And I didn't buy a lot. I bought like 10 pairs of shoes.
And it's like also with that, like you discovered it before you even sent it into FBA. You could return like half of them if you wanted to.
Probably return them all.
Or you could just send them in and I'm sure they probably have like good velocity still.
And that's one thing I'm also learning about is the difference between sales rank in different categories. Like I sell books, so I know all the different, like I know the sales rank in the book category, and I generally know, okay, what sales rank would kind of mean that this book maybe doesn't sell so much. But clothing, shoes, stuff like that, like I've never sold in that category. So I have no context for what is a good sales rank. And I can look at a chart that says this is top 1%, top 10%, but I have no experience like selling them and understanding like how often they move. You know what I mean?
So, yeah. I feel that whenever I go into a new category, I'm like automotive, Jungle Scout free estimator. It says that it sells 60 a month. There's 30 people on it. Probably get a sale, I think,
Yeah.
but I haven't sold it, so I don't believe it in your heart. Like you have the confidence, you have the velocity to sell the thing until you
Yeah,
actually like send it in.
exactly. So, I'm learning, and that's something that I do want to transition into a little bit more of is online arbitrage because I think it's an interesting model. It's an interesting idea.
And I mean, like, honestly, I know from context, a lot of your book, like, store, you're like super content to like have something sell in like 3, 4 months.
Yeah, actually, I was
Like,
just looking at my average sell. My average book sells just under or just over 3.5 months. That's how long it takes the average book to sell. And so I just ran the numbers. The average book cost was 27. The average sell price was 99. So you take a book, you buy it for 27, it sells for 99, and that takes 3.5 months on average to sell. The way that I think about it is like I've always thought about this as an investment because that I'm really into financial independence, retire early. So I'm always thinking, how do I take the money that I have and allow it to make more money for me? And I've been saving and investing for a while now that it's like my wife and I are starting to get quite a bit of money, like quite a big of a snowball. So it's like I can't really spend, or nor do I want to spend this much money, I guess, doing online arbitrage. But the way I see it is like, okay, most of this is going to go in the stock market, but I still can take $1 and then I can turn it into $2.50 and it takes me 3.5 months, but I can do that. It seems very slow to sell a book like that, but if you can do that 3 or 4 times in a year, that return on that dollar spent is way better than getting 8% return. It's just another way to diversify like my investment. So I think of it as an investment, if that makes sense.
that's an interesting way to look at it. And like, if you take that mindset into regular online arbitrage, you're just going to be like such a unique seller there.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, let me sell this as fast as possible.
Yeah,
And then
exactly. Yeah.
Joji's just going to be here like, yeah, I'm going to sell this at 75. I'm going to set it and leave it. And like,
Yeah.
everyone's going to like buy a sale. They're going to like drive the price down to like $40. Everyone's going to sell out. And then Joji's going to sell out like a month and a half later at his like 70% ROI, and it's going to just be like glorious.
Yeah, I don't mind a book sitting that long. At least right now with the volume that I'm doing. I don't buy very many books. I buy 5 books a day. So it's not that many books a day. Again, I spend on average 27 bucks. So it's like $27 per book. So I'm spending like maybe $135 a day on average. It's not like a lot of money if you're thinking about it. Yeah, that's just what I like. I like to find books that don't sell very often, but you can find them for an undervalued price and then just sell them for what they're worth. And I like that model.
That's sick. Yeah. And it's like just the return on investment for something like that is just absolutely nuts. Like you don't have to have like an absolutely ripping product to make money on Amazon.
Yeah.
I know like our friend Cody like really likes the shoe variations where he can tell it gets some sales a month, but he can send a shoe in, get like a sale per month. Nothing glorious, nothing crazy, but like he just chugs that $40 profit, that $45 profit on
Yeah.
like a bunch of different SKUs and just goes so well. So Joji, like what are you working on like most in your business right now? Like what's the kind of like the next step for you? I know you're dabbling in some online arbitrage, like regular online arbitrage. It sounds like mostly apparel. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't spent too much time looking and trying to find products, but yeah, the first one that I found was some Adidas shoes, and it was just a test buy. Again, the 𝗰𝗶 chart looked good. I would say that when it comes to the book category, like I'm very experienced with 𝗰𝗶 graphs. I've probably looked at tens of thousands of 𝗰𝗶 graphs for books specifically, so I feel very comfortable with 𝗰𝗶, but I have to apply in a slightly different context, which is a different product with a different sales rank, with variation listings, with things that maybe I haven't always looked at. So I haven't done a ton of OA, just regular OA, because my business is mostly just, online book arbitrage. But in terms of the next steps in my business so I got a couple of VAs now. I want to basically automate all the buying process and as much as I can automate high pricing alert. And then also really just spend most of the time on account health. And I have a YouTube channel. I want to really grow the YouTube channel. I want to help people out. I also want to build some courses that are going to help people out. And one thing that I realized, Seth, is that even though my main goal is not to get rich off selling courses, I realized that the return on selling a course is insane for both parties. Like in order for me to sell a course to someone that's going to help them, like I had to put a lot of work up front, but then once it sells, and there's not really like any fees associated with that. So I'm noticing like, hey, even though I have great margins on a lot of books, it's like, it still takes a long time to, 3.5 months to get your money back on average, even though you are getting a good ROI. So I want to transition into making courses to help people and growing my YouTube channel, just getting more influence. And once I do that, I feel like my OA book business is pretty much automated to what I want it to be, then I want to start transitioning into OA, because I want to take my YouTube audience and then also transition them into like, hey, here's how you do OA. Maybe make a couple courses for that as well. And I don't know. I just really like the process of making YouTube videos, helping people out. So that's the goal.
Yeah, and it's like nuts that these days, like back like 15 years ago, like if you wanted to like go get your education on like how to be like whatever it is you want to be and get your education on, like you had to go to school for 4 years and pay
Yep.
like 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, $100,000 to get your education.
Yeah.
And these days, like in a couple months, you'll have Joji's education and you can pay whatever it is, like definitely not $100,000, and
Yeah.
you could make a full-time income doing what he's doing and what he's spent the last 3, 4 years learning how to do. It's
Yeah.
just absolutely nuts. Like I know for me, I purchased a book selling like thrifting course from Romer. Basically, it's not specifically just thrifting, but I bought it on Black Friday. It was like a $400 investment, and
Yeah.
I made full-time income from that and was able to transition into like being a full-time Amazon seller from a $400 investment. That is like return on investment. Amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like I said, the ROI for both people is insane because also, like I said, you make the course, and if it's $400, $500, whatever it is, like you put all that time in up front, but then after that, like it does become passive income. Like if it's a really good course that provides value to people, like obviously provide a value to you. I like what you said. You can literally buy your education for so much cheaper, and you can buy a very niche, like very specific to something.
Yeah, and like of course you're not going to get any return on it if you don't like follow through and like learn the things.
Exactly, which is if
But
you
that's
show up to
anything.
college and you go to parties all the time, you never go to class. I mean, what do you expect? You know, it's like the same thing, right?
Exactly, exactly. What was your biggest loss from Amazon? Like what was like the worst buy you've ever made, if you can even remember it?
Yeah, no, it's actually the worst buy that I made probably ever, and it was this year. As I bought a 3-volume encyclopedia set from Amazon, and I bought it, I want to say like for $475 because this thing was showing Keepa sales, like not a lot, and this could turn out to still be a pretty good deal, but it showed not a lot of Keepa sales, but maybe like 6 or 7 times a year, and most of those sales rank drops were when the used price and obviously the third party new price and the Amazon new price were well over $1,000. I'm talking like 1,500 plus. And then in a short period of time, Amazon just kept going down, 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 down. And they got all the way down to like, I think it was like $475. And so I think they had three in stock. And I said, okay, this is really risky. $475 is a lot of money. The Keepa graph looks great. There's really no difference between this and another product that I've been able to source before. The only difference being that the prices are different, so the stakes are higher. I've done things like this all the time, just much smaller scale, and it's worked for me most of the time. But this product in particular, even though the price has gone back up, like now the lowest use price, like if you want to buy, you'd have to buy it from me for like $1,000 or whatever it is. It still hasn't sold, so it's been maybe like 8 or so months. So I have like $475 sitting there, and it hasn't, I think it sold maybe one time, but it wasn't my copy. So maybe someone bought it new from Amazon. But yeah, that's definitely the most capital I have held up in a set. It's a bad deal until it's not a bad deal, until it sells. But who knows, it might sell. I did see Amazon is coming out with a new 3-volume set of it, but it's not set to come out until like, I think maybe midtime next year or something. So I don't know. We'll see. Could be my worst deal ever, but
Well, you still got
be
like
a good deal.
a year plus probably, right?
Yeah.
And it could still sell even if the new edition comes out.
Yeah. If it does sell, I make money. And I'll obviously have a big check from that. The payout will probably be like $700, $800. Originally, when I was buying it, I was planning to sell it for like $1,200 or $1,300 because the Amazon price, I want to say, is like close to $2,000 or something like that. So I don't know. Probably the worst buy though. I wouldn't have done it again going back because it was a lot of capital to invest.
Yeah, but it's like the thing is if it was the same pattern as like all the other like $27 books that you're doing, like
yeah,
if you do it right, like you just did like 10, 20 purchases right there,
yeah,
which is amazing.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I gambled a little bit with it, and so far I'm paying for it. We'll see though. I think it'll still sell. I would bet that it still sells.
It's like different when it's just like, oh, the thing hasn't sold yet. Like it definitely sucks because that's a lot of money to just have like sitting there for like 9 months.
Yeah.
But like worst case scenario, you probably sell it for like the 475 probably, and it takes another year. So you probably lose about like $100 on it.
Yeah, that's the thing. One thing that I've also learned is to, at least in the beginning of when I was doing online book arbitrage, I was always like, I got to make my money back. I got to make my money back. Obviously, on the overwhelming majority of books, I make money on. Like I actually make pretty decent profit on because the average profit per book that sells is like just shy of $50. So clearly I'm making pretty good money in most of the books that sell, but obviously there's some books that take longer to sell and you have to lower the price and you might sell at break even or even a loss. And one thing that I realized is that I would much rather just sell this book for a slight loss and lose 15 bucks on it. Really what I lost was the time that I could have used that to invest in another book that would have. So I realized that in having this money sit there, I'm actually losing more money by not deploying it to something that will perform better. So I've learned, hey, even though this thing's going to sell a $10 loss, just move it, sell it, get out of there. I'll take that money, buy another product, and it probably will sell in 3 months and make all my money back plus some more.
Yeah, that opportunity cost is a lot. Well, Joji, thank you so much for coming on. This was fun. Where can people find you on social media?
Yeah, I appreciate it. So you can just type in my name, Joji Davenport. I'm over on YouTube. I also have an Instagram, and same thing, just Joji_Davenport.
Sweet. Well, thank you guys for watching. And if you're not subscribed already, please hit the subscribe button. We also do have a series. Well, actually, Joji has a series where he is going from $0 to $1,000 from scratch. We were talking about it earlier. I binge watched the entire first episode with pop in my hand. Actually, no, it was trail mix in my hand, but definitely go check that out. And then when you're done, go ahead and check the 0 to 20K series on my channel, where I do online arbitrage sourcing, showing you guys the leads that I'm purchasing as well. Some good content for you guys to watch, and hope you guys have a great rest of the day. Bye.
Thanks, guys.